All right, so you think you got what it takes to be a sports coach.
Mm.
Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because we are diving deep into the world of sports coaching with RoleCatcher as our guide.
Sounds like a plan.
We're ditching those cheesy pep
Yeah, it
talks and
is.
breaking down the real deal.
So,
The skills, the knowledge, the constant hustle to stay ahead of the game.
yeah, RoleCatcher really highlights that need for a well-rounded skill set. It's
Yeah.
about way more than just loving the sport.
It's like they're saying, hey, being a sports fanatic doesn't automatically make you coach of the year.
Definitely not.
You've got to be a mentor, a strategist, almost like a psychologist for your athletes.
It's about shaping people, not just players.
Exactly. And get this, RoleCatcher even gave this example of a coach using mindfulness techniques to help an athlete deal with performance anxiety.
Wow.
Talk about going above and beyond those drills and playbooks.
It really shows how much coaching goes beyond just the physical training.
Right, it's about the whole package.
Right.
And speaking of packages, RoleCatcher breaks down the specific responsibilities that come with every step of the coaching ladder.
Oh, yeah, from assistant coach all the way up to the big leagues as a senior coach.
Like, they've laid out a roadmap for your career, whether you're just starting out or aiming for that top spot.
That's so helpful for anyone even thinking about coaching. It gives you a clear picture of what to expect.
Exactly. And speaking of helpful, can we talk about the insane amount of resources RoleCatcher offers? 120,000 practice interview questions.
No way.
Yes, way. Plus, they've got AI-powered feedback on your answers.
Seriously.
Yep. Talk about a game changer.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal coach for your interviews.
Right. They're not messing around when it comes to preparing you for that job hunt.
It really emphasizes how important those interviews are. You have to know your stuff and be able to articulate it.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher keeps it real, too.
How so?
They don't sugarcoat the fact that coaching can be a grind.
Oh, tell me about it. Those long hours, those unpredictable schedules.
Exactly. They really emphasize that it's not just about those glorious wins under the stadium lights.
Definitely not for those of us on the sidelines.
You're putting in the work behind the scenes, day in and day out.
Early mornings, late nights, weekends.
But then again, RoleCatcher reminds us that the payoff can be pretty amazing, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Witnessing those aha moments when an athlete gets it, seeing them grow, not just as players, but as people.
Those moments make everything worth it.
Right. It's those breakthroughs that fuel your passion. And RoleCatcher doesn't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They've got links to coaching associations, certification programs.
Really?
They're invested in helping you succeed.
That's great to hear.
But they also don't shy away from the tough stuff. They talk about the competitiveness, the pressure to win, the fact that your job security can hinge on the team's performance.
It's a high-stakes environment, that's for sure.
Talk about a roller coaster of emotions.
You've got to have thick skin and a whole lot of resilience to make it in this field. And even with all the challenges, it's amazing how many people dream of being a professional coach.
Right. It's a tough gig, but it clearly draws people in.
Definitely. And the thing is, you don't have to be coaching at the professional level to make a real impact.
That's what I was just thinking.
RoleCatcher emphasizes that coaching opportunities exist everywhere. Schools, community centers, even just mentoring someone one-on-one.
Oh, absolutely.
The principles are the same, whether you're training future Olympians or coaching a local youth team.
It's about nurturing potential no matter where you find it.
Exactly.
Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what really stood out to you from RoleCatcher's take on coaching?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's their emphasis on the holistic nature of coaching. Yes, you need expertise in the sport, but that's not enough.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got to be a skilled communicator, a leader, even a bit of a psychologist, like we talked about earlier.
It's like they connected all these different dots that you might not think are related to coaching, but they're so crucial.
Exactly. And they highlighted social intelligence and active listening as key skills.
Those are so important.
Coaches need to truly understand their athletes, not just bark out orders.
It's that human connection that can make all the difference.
Absolutely. And that actually ties into what RoleCatcher kept coming back to, the psychological side of coaching.
It's huge.
Building trust, creating a positive team environment, understanding what makes each athlete tick. It's about so much more than just the physical game.
It's about creating a space where athletes feel safe to take risks, to learn from their mistakes, to reach their full potential.
And that requires some serious interpersonal skills.
Right. And RoleCatcher actually gives some interesting tips on how to develop those skills.
Like what?
Well, they suggest joining professional coaching associations, attending workshops, even just keeping up with relevant blogs and magazines.
It's about constantly expanding your knowledge base and seeking out different perspectives.
Exactly. RoleCatcher really hammers home the importance of continuous learning and development.
And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. The world of sports is constantly evolving. New training techniques, new technologies.
Right, right.
Coaches need to be lifelong learners, always adapting and staying ahead of the game.
It's that growth mindset in action.
Precisely. And RoleCatcher reminds us that this learning goes way beyond just the technical aspects of the sport.
Oh, for sure. They talk about understanding sports psychology, nutrition, even sociology.
It's amazing how this one profession branches out into so many different fields.
Right. I mean, you've got to know a little bit about everything.
It's true. And it just goes to show how complex the role of a coach really is.
So much more than just teaching plays and running drills.
They're educators, mentors, counselors, all rolled into one.
And don't even get me started on those AI-powered features again. Over 120,000 practice questions.
It's almost overwhelming.
I know, right? But it really highlights how important preparation is.
It's like RoleCatcher is saying, we're giving you all the tools you need to crush this.
Exactly. And that AI feedback is like having your own personal interview coach.
Giving you personalized pointers and helping you refine your answers.
Now, switching gears a bit, RoleCatcher gave a fascinating breakdown of the academic paths you could take to become a coach.
Okay.
And it wasn't just the obvious choices like sports science or exercise physiology.
Right.
They even talked about psychology, sociology, even nutrition.
Oh, wow.
It just goes to show that coaching is about so much more than just physical prowess.
It's about the mind, the body, the whole athlete.
And while a college degree might not always be a requirement for every coaching job, RoleCatcher makes a really good point.
What's that?
They say it can give you a serious competitive edge, especially when you're going for those high-level coaching positions.
Oh, absolutely. The more knowledge and skills you bring to the table, the better.
Knowledge is power, right. And that seems to ring especially true in the competitive world of sports coaching.
Couldn't agree more.
And it's not like you just get those degrees and coast on by, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
The sports world is constantly changing.
Always something new.
New research, new techniques. Coaches need to be in it for the long haul, constantly learning and adapting.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher actually has this whole section on continuous learning. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they suggest going to coaching clinics, attending those big conferences,
It's
even just staying updated on the latest research papers in the field.
wow, keeping up with the academics too, huh?
The best coaches never stop being students of the game. That's what they say.
It's like that growth mindset everyone's always talking about. Always be learning, always be growing.
Exactly.
And RoleCatcher doesn't just stop at the technical stuff either. They have a really interesting breakdown of all those core skills you need to be an effective coach.
Oh, I love that part.
It goes way beyond just knowing the sport inside and out.
Right. They talk about communication, leadership, even negotiation and persuasion.
Negotiation. Now, that's not something you typically think about for a coaching job.
Right. You wouldn't think so. But it's crucial for dealing with athletes, staff, even parents sometimes.
I bet. So it's not all sunshine and roses then.
Definitely not. They even gave this example, this basketball age, who negotiated extra gym time for his team.
How do you swing that?
He offered to run a free clinic for younger kids in exchange.
Wow. Talk about a win-win.
Exactly. Thinking outside the box. It just goes to show that coaching is just as much about managing people as it is about the sport itself.
You've got to be a people person, that's for sure. And you know what else really stood out to me? How much they stressed active listening and social perceptiveness.
Oh, those are huge.
They're saying you can't just be the one always talking, always calling the shots. You got to be a listener to build those relationships.
Exactly. They had this great example, this track coach who noticed one of her runners was acting off, withdrawn, performing poorly. And instead of just pushing her harder, the coach actually sat down with her, listened to what was going on.
Yeah.
Turns out the athlete was dealing with a family issue that was really weighing on her.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Right. And because the coach took the time to listen, to show empathy, she was able to help the athlete get back on track.
That's incredible. Sometimes just feeling heard can make all the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher points out that this human element extends to building a positive team environment, too.
Of course. That team spirit is essential.
Right. They talked about this volleyball coach who started this team gratitude practice. Before each practice, everyone, players and coaches, would share something they were grateful for.
Oh, I love that.
It was this small thing, but it really fostered this sense of camaraderie and appreciation within the team.
I bet. And probably helped their communication and collaboration on the court, too.
That's exactly what they found. And, another thing RoleCatcher does really well is give this insightful look at the different career stages within sports coaching.
Oh, yeah, they lay out those typical responsibilities for each level.
From assistant coach all the way up to senior sports coach, they give you a sneak peek into what each role actually entails. They even have these little snippets from real coaches at each stage sharing their experiences.
Oh, wow, so you're not just getting the textbook definition.
Exactly. You're hearing it straight from the source.
It's like having a mentor in your back pocket giving you the real deal about the highs and the lows.
It really brings it all to life.
And speaking of mentors, RoleCatcher's really big on seeking guidance from those more experienced coaches.
Oh, yeah, they're all about that.
They suggest going to conferences, joining those professional associations, even just reaching out directly to coaches you admire.
Networking is key. They have a whole section dedicated to networking and mentorship. They emphasize building those relationships with other coaches, not just for your career, but for your own personal growth, too.
It's like having that support system, people who understand the unique challenges of coaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They even suggest creating a coaching board.
A coaching board.
Yeah. It's like this group of trusted advisors you can go to for advice, feedback, just to bounce ideas off of.
I love that because even coaches need coaching sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're all students in this game of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that's some wisdom for the sidelines. You know what's interesting? We always think of coaching as this one specific career path, but RoleCatcher actually broadens that, like way more than I expected.
Oh, yeah. How so?
They have this whole section on what they call alternative titles for sports coaches, and it really got me thinking.
Like what kind of alternative titles are we talking about?
Well, they list things like fitness instructor, lifeguard instructor, even corporate trainer.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that.
It really hits you that those core coaching skills, communication, leadership, motivation, those can apply to so many different roles.
That's so true. It's not just about sports, it's about guiding and inspiring people, no matter what the context.
Right, and it kind of reminds me of that saying, like, everyone's a coach in their own way. Maybe not with a whistle and a clipboard, haha, but we all have the potential to mentor, support, all that good stuff.
I like that. And actually, RoleCatcher even talks about self-coaching,
Mm-hmm.
using those same principles, goal setting, self-awareness, to navigate your own life and career.
Oh, that's a good point. So it's like even if you're not on the sidelines calling the plays, you can still use those coaching principles to guide yourself.
Exactly. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into the coaching world, what's the main thing you hope listeners take away from all this?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's that coaching is so much more than just, teaching skills or running drills.
It's deeper than that.
Way deeper. It's about understanding people, helping them grow, and being ready to adapt as the game changes.
Well said. Whether you're aiming for a championship or just trying to be the best version of yourself, those coaching principles, communication, leadership, continuous learning, those apply to all of us.
Absolutely. So as RoleCatcher would say, what's your game plan for leveling up?